Hello, friends and listeners, party people. Welcome back to another episode of Party XP. I'm your host, Lakan, and joining me once again is my friend Buffa. Say hi, Andrew Buffa.
Hi, thanks for another party invite. I'm glad to be back. I guess I didn't mess up too much the first time, so, let's start rocking, I guess, right?
Yeah, the first episode was a good time. I'm hoping everybody else liked that episode when it came out, so hopefully that was a fun episode for everybody else to listen to. But yeah, I had a good time having a conversation with you. Again, you're my friend. Like, obviously, it helps. I would invite people here who aren't my friends, or at least people who I want to talk to in the first place, right? Jeff, too. If he wouldn't bring anybody else he doesn't want to talk to. But
I'm secretly trying to replace him.
Yeah, exactly. I'm auditioning for a new co-host here. But yeah, no, it was a fun conversation, and we were like, we absolutely have to have you on more, and we're probably gonna have another, same format of like Jeff, Fernandez, and John, where we're probably gonna have a more conversational, free-flowing episode down the line, maybe two. I don't know, depends on how far along we get into and doing this whole recording sessions, basically.
Or maybe he'll have everyone at once.
Yeah, we'll just have a chaos episode, just like bring everybody in here. Actually, I think I brought up with John before. Do you remember that previous podcast we tried doing forever ago?
The Destiny one.
Yeah. Were you in that group or no?
I was not playing Destiny at the time.
Okay, yeah,
Thankfully.
You're better off, honestly. That was a weird thing because like we had no idea what we were doing because we had like one microphone. We just had us in a room.
It is
and
hard
there was just too much chaos
to
going
coordinate. Like 4, 5, 6 people.
Yeah, I think like 4
and
is
especially
the max.
when that was kind of your first foray into
Conversational,
casting,
long form content type of thing. Yeah, it was kind of rough.
So you all seemed kind of nervous, and you didn't want to step on each other, which is a good thing.
Yeah, it's like we were aware of it. I think like we want to make sure that there's space for everybody to talk about stuff. But I didn't think we were like ready to understand how much that actually goes, how far that actually goes in terms of like making content in terms of in a way that people actually want to listen to. Because it very quickly devolved into chaos with all 6 of us. And no, go ahead.
Because especially like each guy then is trying to find their own niche too. So, this is what I'm going to be the expert at. This is what I'm going to talk about. I got to be the front man. Talking about everything.
I don't remember who actually hosted those episodes even to this point. We only had 2, and they're just lost to the internet at this point. I'm sure people can find them. They're not great.
But don't worry, they're coming back.
Yeah, we're just gonna re-release them on here. But yeah, so like there's just. We talked about like that whole chaos of trying to have everybody on here. Like, no, we'll probably reduce most of the episodes to like, again, 2 men, maybe 3, maybe 4. I think 4 is max. You know what I mean? If I want to have like a proper just like I'll shoot the shit kind of episode. You know what I mean? I think it
depends on the discussion and how many different opinions you could get on a certain topic.
Yeah, if it's something that's a little more relaxed, it'd be kind of fun to just have us shoot the shit. You know what I mean? It'd be kind of cool. Mm-hmm. But everything else, if we're just having like the typical episodes where we're talking about something specific, at the very most 3, because I've thought about like I have a friend who's really into a specific game type, and I'm like, me and Jeff were kind of like interested in it. I would have him come in and pitch it to both of us. You know what I mean? Just be like, here, okay, like here's why you guys should try this thing because you guys are interested in it, but don't know where to start, kind of thing. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, sure, maybe, but like it's still kind of hard to coordinate even with 3 people to begin with. Like even recording with Jeff, like it's like he doesn't live in town anymore. He has to travel here to get into the studio basically, and it's just like. Yeah, kind of rough to try to figure this out when we have like lives, you know what I mean, to deal with basically.
That's why I'm taking his job.
Yeah, that's exactly why Buffa's here to replace Jeff. Yeah, so this episode, this is Buffa's episode. He's pitching me something. So
yeah, I'm very, very excited to be the pitcher this time.
Yeah, I'm here ready to catch all of you. Yeah.
What? Huh?
What?
Okay. Well. I don't know about this.
Okay, so update. Buff is no longer wanting to join the podcast.
I'm leaving,
and I need to find a new replacement for Jeff again. Okay, so go ahead. Let me see what you got here.
Well, have you ever heard of a game called Super Mario Brothers?
Yes, I have.
Well, that's what we're playing.
What? What? Really?
No.
Oh, Jesus. I was like, sure. I'm learning how to speed run Super Mario Brothers this episode.
Okay, so I guess let me set the stage. I'm going to bring you back to the early aughts.
Okay.
The gaming landscape is about to change because Microsoft is about to enter the console wars.
Yes.
With Nintendo and Sony when they're going to release the Xbox. 2001, I believe.
Yes, I want to say 2001 was when the Xbox came out.
So one of my favorite games from the early launch window of the Xbox was Jet Set Radio Future. Back when the Dreamcast came out. I was kind of one of the only people who I knew that had a Dreamcast. So.
In your friend group at the time.
Yeah, in my friend group at the time.
Because I think like Zach was like the one guy we knew who had a Dreamcast here anyway.
Right. And so I was a big fan of like a lot of those games. I thought the Dreamcast A was ahead of its time. You know, it had online capabilities, like internet browser. So it was kind of, you know, back in 2000, like, oh, holy shit.
Yeah,
right?
it was definitely like revolutionary, but like no one was ready for it. Like no one was able to really take advantage of it and kind of knew what they wanted to do with the thing in the first place.
And you know, it was a huge loss for Sega making the Dreamcast and stuff like that. So that's why they eventually bowed out of the console wars. But you know, I thought the Dreamcast had a ton of great games. You know, just to list a few: Sonic Adventures, both of them, Power Stone, Jet Grind Radio at the time. But you know, I wanted to get Lakan to play Jet Set Radio Future because it does happen to be one of my favorite games. And then, you know, from the Dreamcast era, and then it was released on the Xbox. But for those of you who don't know anything about Jet Set Radio Future, in the early aughts, late 90s, like, I feel like America was very into, you know, anti-establishment, you know, a lot of cross-culture stuff like that. We were super into the X Games and stuff like that, so it pulled a lot of inspiration from its time period.
Yeah, like Tony Hawk was kind of like starting to pop up
Tony
around
Hawk
that time.
Was like, you know, huge, like,
well, as a person, and the video games, of course, were
right?
Like
the
big
X
at
Games
that point.
were like being hosted on ESPN, stuff like that. So in Jet Set Radio Future and its predecessor Jet Grind Radio, you're this gang of people. And it's you're doing inline skating, so
you're taggers in this one, right?
Yeah, you're taggers.
Same as like Grind.
Graffiti.
Okay, yeah, I remember that. I remember that one because I played Jet Grind Radio. That's the first one, right?
Right.
So I played that one. Yeah. So this Jet Set, I'd actually played this one. It's one of those things where like it kind of fell through the cracks for me. Where like I played this one like on like, I don't know, like maybe like a friend's console because I didn't have a Dreamcast, so I'd never really experienced more than just the first one, basically.
Yeah, and then like Xboxes.
And Xbox, I came in late.
Right.
I was a PS2. I was like a PS1, PS2 guy. So
yeah,
like I kind of
stuck the console wars.
Yeah, so I missed out on like a lot of early. You said this was early in the Xbox life.
Yeah, so this came out in 2002, February.
I probably even have it.
And then Xbox came out in November of 2001, I believe. So very early in the launch window, 4 months there.
Gotcha. Okay.
And Xbox was super expensive from what I remember back then too.
Right.
Especially because we're also in 2002. What are we, like, in middle school? So we're not really getting money of our own.
12 or 13 at most, maybe. Yeah, we didn't really have any money. We had to bother our parents or work, you know, a whole summer just to make one purchase, basically. Yeah, so I think I do remember it being like pricier than like a PS1, PS2, you know, like around that era, right?
And people were also like
still PS1, right?
Yeah, PS1 going into PS2
was
already out. I think in what 2000.
2000.
Because GameCube and Xbox released at the same time.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, PS2 was like, and that was like we already had the establishment of like PlayStation already kind of in the household at that point.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So.
And it was just the unknown, like Microsoft jumping into the consoles. Like, you know, Xbox was also very bulky. You know. Didn't have too many good reviews, I believe, in the beginning.
Early on, yeah, I do remember like that. It was a slow start, basically, for them. I remember.
Right.
That. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So what else you go about this game? Because again, I know about Jet Grind Radio. I don't remember a whole lot.
This series like you know sticks out to me because just the art style, one in general, like the cell shading.
Yeah, I remember that was
like
dope.
I feel like super sticks out, and it still looks very good today.
Yeah, it's an aesthetic thing, not a graphical thing.
Yeah.
And I remember one thing that stuck to me with the Jet Grind Radio was the music.
Right. And, you know, they bring that back, you know.
Pretty much, like, ramped up even more.
Right, because there's so many different styles of music. There's funk, there's hip-hop, there's, like, electronic dance, there's rock music.
Swing, I remember all that stuff.
And, like, the music kind of makes the game because each different level has, you know, a couple different songs that play throughout. And they're all, like, you know, they get you hyped up.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm down. Again, like, this is kind of one of those games that, like, I know, like, again, like, you enjoy this series. I know Zach just won't shut up about it every time we talk about this game, or the new one coming out, Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, which is coming out this year, right?
Well, if it depending on when this video or this podcast goes up, it releases August, so a couple weeks from now.
It might be out by this point, actually. Yeah, so that's the case.
Which is also kind of why I want to introduce, you know, like, to throw this one out there, because I am excited about the the spiritual successor. It's made by the same
yeah.
people. Bomber Cyberpunk or Cyberpunk.
Cyberpunk, yeah, I think that's the thing. Yeah, because I've played also another game called Hover, which is kind of like, again, like kind of like a. I think they tried to be a spiritual successor to this game, but it's like free runners instead of like rollers, inline skaters kind of thing.
Yeah,
and it was fine, but like it didn't hit the same. So like I'm waiting for Cyberpunk as well to come out basically. So, yeah, I mean I'm down. I'm excited. I have to find my Xbox.
Right.
I think I know where it is, but I'll bust it out. I'll play in the OG console, and I'll spend my time with it, and I'll let you know exactly how I feel about it in like a week or two.
I also didn't want to bombard Lakan with like the 4 or 5
RPGs
that I had lined up, and I was like, "Oh, this is kind of a quicker playthrough."
Yeah, you're gonna lock me down for 2 months just playing just like an 80-hour RPG.
I was like, "Oh, I got this 80-hour RPG, this 100-hour RPG," and it's like,
it's like cool. Guess what? This episode's not coming out until like December, my guy. Right. Okay, so listeners, there's gonna be a short break here, and on our end it'll be maybe a week or two, and by that point I will have gotten my hands and gotten through Jet Set Radio, Jet Set Radio, Future, and Future. I'll have gotten through the game, and we'll discuss about how I feel about the game. See you in a bit.
From the Tokyo Toe Underground, this is DJ Professor AJ on the pirate radio broadcast of Jet Set Radio. Okay, it's been a week and a half, and Lakan has gotten a chance to play through the game a little bit, or a lot of it. I don't even know. He might not have even played it all, for all I know. But
it's hooked up. You look behind you. It's hooked up.
I can't see it.
Wow. It's calling me a fraud on my own show.
But all kidding aside, so what'd you think?
So I didn't remember as much as I thought I did initially, because again, like I mentioned, I think in the first half where I played the original on the Dreamcast a little bit, very very little bit on like friends' consoles, because I never owned a Dreamcast.
Right.
So when I jumped into this game, I was like, the music hit, and I was like, oh, yep, this is nostalgic. I remember getting impacted by how good the music was in this game.
I do feel like that opening title screen was at a lot of like Kmart's or because it was one of the first games released for the Xbox in that launch window, so I felt like it was on the displays. So it's like you did see a lot of that opening title screen and the music. At, different stores and stuff too.
So I got into the game, and I completely forgot, like I don't remember any of the controls. And also I forgot that Boboy had the tutorials.
Right.
So I was like, So I played the first like 2 hours of this game like with no tutorial, and like not exactly understanding how tricks worked.
Yeah.
And I was like, I feel like I missed something, because I was just playing the game, and also like every time I go back to the garage, Bobot is like, hey, what's up, dude? I got something to talk to you about.
He's just dancing there, and you're just like, screw you.
There's a thing on the screen that says like, hey, I got something to talk to you about, or come over here, and I'm like, get the fuck away from me. so I would like just play the game, and I was like, I have to go to him to save anyways, so I was perfectly fine. So I would go back to him, and I'd save, and I'd see like tutorials or like something from the specific wording, something for like the game mechanics or whatever, right? And I was like, okay, and I just see, here's the tutorials. Okay, cool. So I missed this for the first 2 hours. To be fair, the game's pretty straightforward.
Right. Yeah. And
like,
I mean, that is what's cool about the game, that you can just jump right into it, but the tutorials teach you like power sliding and like turning around,
like finer control stuff, which is a little more useful, especially like in the later part of the game when you kind of have to worry about how close and how you trail things, or like minor control of things. But yeah, like I just jumped straight into the game, which was again fine, because the game is so damn fun that I kind of just kind of went around and explored shit, and really just enjoyed the world of the aesthetic of the world basically. I did get thrown off a little bit by how much I wanted to play this like Tony Hawk games. Yeah,
and it is very akin to it, because you can just skate around the world just doing like tricks and grinding and doing inline skate maneuvers, but like Tony Hawk.
Yeah, like so the thing is, I noticed when I was the thing that I was thinking about when I was playing this was that Tony Hawk games, well, at least the first 3, I believe, were kind of just like score and kind of do a couple objectives, right? For the core, for the most part, right? That's basically all it was.
Yeah, it was all just doing tricks.
It was
or
timed
like,
too on top of it.
Right. I think 2 minutes for every Tony Hawk level or whatnot.
So this was closer to like Tony Hawk's Underground /4, which again, this preceded both of those games, obviously, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like more of a free skate, and you have like objectives along the way, and as long as you get a certain amount of them done, you can kind of move forward, kind of thing, right?
Right.
And there's people to talk to in the open space, and that triggers certain events or your objectives, right?
And that was the difference from the first one, because the first one was more just level. Here's a time frame. It was designed more like Tony Hawk. This is more, like you said, like Underground, where the maps are interconnected a little bit, and you have like you talk to characters and you can unlock them to play as.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, like that's the thing. I think that's like where I had to not like disconnect a little bit, but I had to like reconfigure how I thought about how to play the game. But again, like because I'm used to that like Tony Hawk's Underground style, Tony Hawk 4, that, and then the style going forward basically from the Tony Hawk games. So it's like I can recall that, which is kind of like a checkpoint or like a cutoff man.
Right.
For me to change my mindset again a little bit further to how to play this game, basically, right? Well, like I really like the fact that like the game this game was kind of flow based, right? Even when you're choosing your character, like at the garage, like it shows you like a little video of all of them skating together.
Yeah.
And kind of doing running like a line, you know what I mean? Like hitting like a skate line basically, and like You see like the moves are a little bit different for every character, right? The way they stance is a little bit different for every character and stuff like that. And it's cool. It gives them a little bit of actually gives them a lot of like like flavor as a character. Just
right.
Everybody seems so samey.
Yeah, I like the mix of characters they had. They seemed like they were in 3 archetypes of like a small, a medium, and like a heavy character kind of.
Yeah, kind of what it felt like.
But I liked all the character designs. They were all pretty unique.
Yeah, they're all dope looking. Yeah,
and like the different gangs are like vastly different.
Mm-hmm. And especially like when you get to like that middle part of the game where you start understanding, I can go back and unlock characters that I missed before. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, because if you go to previous areas now, there might be a
new
character
kind of just hanging out there,
right.
waiting for a game of like a Tiger's Tag or just like a race kind of thing, right? Or just like or just like follow them to the 3 different locations. Then they're like, "Oh, it's in your gang." It's like, "Okay, sure, there you go." Exactly how gangs work.
Yeah.
Right. There's no jump-ins anymore, right? They just go around skating.
In futuristic Tokyo, yes.
Yeah, exactly. There we go. Where there's no violence and there's only corporate or like fascistic overlords taking over the place, basically.
Cops are still terrible, though.
Yeah, it seems like in every storyline, no matter what, cops are terrible.
Is it art imitating life or life imitating art?
Yes, exactly that. I mean, so you mentioned actually the first half of the episode where, like the game has a very much so like a anti government kind of stance. I mean, it's more like a rebellion thing, not exactly like anti government stance or whatever.
Right.
It's again, like it's like when you think about like that skater counterculture. That's what I was looking for. The term I was looking for. Like it's like a counterculture, like the how they want to be more free and treated more fairly, and they think that there's an overreach and all this other stuff. And obviously, like it's a video game. It's not exactly like super heavy-handed or whatever. And obviously, it's cartoon. You know what I mean? Like it's very like caricaturized. You know what I mean?
Right.
How intense it is. Like the cop just starts pulling out a gun to shoot a bunch of skaters.
Yeah, and he's
that's
just
a little
shooting
extreme.
all these kids and like in crowded areas and just they're bringing in tanks.
Like
and
obviously, again, it's a caricature of it of how insane it can seem, but it's like, but you very much so get that energy throughout the a whole lot of the game. It gets a little weird towards the end where it's like starts becoming like
it starts getting very like. For lack of a better term, Japanese.
Yeah.
Like anime-ish.
It really does. Which is, I mean, to be expected. It's a very stylized game, right? A little bit. So I kind of expected it to be get a little weird and a little bit funky.
Right. Like funky or
both. Like so, like design wise, the enemies just get higher. It kind of escalate essentially how absurd they can be.
Yeah.
And then also like the like aesthetically the game also changes like so the first part, so the majority of the game is kind of done this like typical cell shaded, kind of like futuristic city, futuristic Tokyo plus a weird desert city area, shantytown kind of thing. Just like that's and then like you skate around in like underground like sewer system,
Right.
and then like the last level is just like an acid trip.
Yeah, I feel like slowly they were taking more and more drugs as they were developing this game.
Like they moved away from the typical city aesthetic to more and more stuff to kind of really. I mean, obviously, this also gets boring if you're just looking at a city the whole time. You know what I mean? I mean, yeah, they designed the different areas kind of differently, but it still feels a little samey over a while if you were just playing in a city the whole time. You know what I mean? Like if you think like a Spider-Man game, especially if like. Especially like back then, like everything was just generic city. You know what I mean? It's like you couldn't really tell. You couldn't really tell what part of New York you're supposed to be in at that point. So it just felt like city.
I do feel like they designed Tokyo very well, though.
Yeah, it definitely gave me like not like remnants of like I've seen a city like a part of like Akihabara that looks like this, you know what I mean? Or I've seen a part of like Ikebukuro like this. Well, not in person. I haven't been to Japan yet.
Pictures.
But like pictures, like stylistically, it's like okay, yeah, this has a very different style to it. This seems more like that kind of nightlife area. This seems more like almost like a Chinatown within Japan. You know what I mean? Like the one part is like a major metropolitan, like Shibuya looking area. You know what I mean? So it's just like, okay, cool. So this is like, they have ways to distinguish the areas a little bit so they don't look as samey. But then again, they have the nice little break of going to like Faro City, which felt like almost kind of like a New York, Las Vegas type of deal. Right. And then what's the other one? I forgot the other area was called. Where, but
the one you're riding like the dragon, that's I guess is supposed to be like a Chinatown.
Yeah, that's like the Chinatown area, right? So I get, there's something there that at least makes it feel a little bit different. You know what I mean? But yeah, they did a very good job, and I think like aesthetically this game holds up very, very well because it is so like stylized,
right?
Like,
and I feel like that's the design element back on Xbox. If we look at a game that's supposed to be realistic looking, we'd look at it now and be like, oh, this is crap.
Oh, like, yeah, absolutely. Especially back then.
Right. Like games like this and Wind Waker have held up really nicely because, it is like a cartoonish style. And
yeah.
That's not going to age poorly, I feel like.
Yeah. And especially like during this generation, this would have been what, again, Xbox,
yeah, OG
PS2,
Xbox.
and GameCube? Okay. So, yeah, especially around then, there was definitely the graphical jump, right? We saw it from the previous PS1, Dreamcast, and N64 generation, essentially, right? Mm-hmm. We saw very much like a clear jump in terms of like graphical fidelity, and then the next generation, the 360, PS3, a little bit of the Wii. Wii's done it technically as well too, where we started getting to that more of that realism, where we started okay, like it's weird because it's in my opinion, some games are like not in the uncanny valley, but like we accept it because we know it's an older game, but it still doesn't look as weird as we think it is. But it looks pretty decent, surprisingly. You know what I mean? Like if I look at Metal Gear Solid, like 4 still, looks pretty decent. Like in terms of like that realism aesthetic, right?
Yeah.
But again, like you're right. Like
But if we look at like Metal Gear 1, you're gonna be like, oh,
it's just a block. We don't have to worry about it because we're like, oh, it's just like there's not enough detail there to throw us off, right? In this game, they're pretty blocky, but you can still see like they have details very, very clearly defined on the faces.
Yeah, the character designs are pretty good.
Yeah, in the enemy designs are like it's funny because they make them purposely generic. You know what I mean? It's like just random cop in black suit or cop in gray suit,
right?
Basically, except for what's the guy's name? Hayama or the main cop guy who just again just immediately pulls out the gun, just starts just shooting people. Yeah, but I mean, again, like the game like was very easy aesthetically to look at. It didn't really bother me all that much. There was another thing that did bother me though, which was I'm not sure if it's because I was playing on a flat screen, like a modern TV,
right?
Hooked up with the AV cables, right? The typical red, white, and yellow. Oh, I guess I should have tried it with the CR. I have a CRT downstairs, but I felt like I was getting motion sickness during this game.
No, I felt that way back when I played it when I was a kid. That,
Okay.
Like after long playthroughs, that I was like, oh, I do have to stop a
Like
little.
a
I did
slight
feel a little
headache or whatever.
Yeah, because a lot of the time, like the camera's moving with you, and you're
Yeah.
on like the verticality levels as you're grinding like up, it's like spinning around. So
Okay,
it does
so I'm not-
mess with you a little bit.
Okay, so I thought I was just getting old, or I wasn't like, or I was like,
Well, then we are getting old.
we are, but like, or if it was just because the game felt like it wasn't as felt like it was like it felt like it was like whipping. The camera's whipping around to follow the character a lot, and again, kind of continues the comparisons I have to like Tony Hawk games here, where like I think Tony Hawk like because that one like the way the camera worked in that one, where it almost no matter what trailed the character, right? It didn't feel like as it gave me as much motion sickness. I could play that game for like hours and not feel bad, even nowadays. You know what I mean? I popped in like a Tony Hawk's Underground, or even like the remakes, right? Of
One and
and two, and like, sure that technically that's been reworked a little bit, right? But even like Underground, I have 3 still. I think I still have 3. I can pop those in and be like, this is fine. I don't really get that motion sickness feeling. This one, like I remember I'd play for like an hour or two, and I'd have to like kind of work through. I have to like power through that first hour or two, because I would get a slight headache, and like it feels like a little bit. Like,
I feel like on certain levels, the camera like
feel wonky.
Right, like you'll jump to a like, for lack of like a different panel kind of, or you'll jump on a grind rail, and then the camera will like shift downward and look at you going up, so that you get the feeling of like, so it shows look how high you're going up,
and then come above you.
Yeah, and then it goes
immediately
then
afterwards.
it switches back to behind you, and you're like, wait, what?
Yeah, like in the sewer specifically is a good example. So like you know how there's a half pipe, you have to jump over the sewer grates, like, or the bars or the fences essentially. It's like that one the camera would whip to like a side view as you're coming, or a side view, or a 3/4 / behind you view, right? A full rear view, and then you jump up the ramp, and then if you jumped forward, it'll just kind of like let you go off, and the camera will kind of stay where it is. But if you jump up the ramp to gain air and come back down the same area, or to like transfer over that like gate, basically, the camera would whip up and then come back down again afterwards, and it's just,
I felt like that's why the sewer levels were annoying, because it was hard sometimes to judge. Oh, am I gonna like fly through the little opening, or it's gonna take me on the half pipe, or am I gonna like miss the jump weirdly?
Yeah, it was like those areas where you had to navigate specifically through like vert areas, essentially, is what I'm gonna call it, right? Like ramps, like actual ramps. Those really threw me off, and also the anytime you had to do like a lot of grinds and wall rides in a row, like usually because you were doing them in a circle.
Yeah.
Same thing. The camera, instead of be kind of like, instead of it being kind of smooth, even though you're moving in a circle, it would be following you, whip to a new angle, follow you from that angle, whip to a new angle, follow you at that angle. It basically followed you at every angle you were going, instead of kind of like rotating a little smoother. So again, it felt kind of whippy when I was looking at it. And again, it led to a couple moments of like, in the middle of a gaming session, I'd be like 3-4 hours in, I'm just like, I need to like rest my eyes for a minute, and just like, because I'm getting a bit of a headache, or like.
I wonder if that was just a way for them to transition to a new area without having to like do a full loading thing.
It might be. I wouldn't doubt it. There's got to be, those tricks have been around for a while, right? I'm assuming so.
Right.
So like, it was a way for them to like, because there were certain other ones where like you'd skate up like a spiral staircase, and it would just like move the camera back. You know what I mean? And just watch you going up. So it doesn't probably doesn't have to render like the whole map around you, behind you at all. It would just look at the one side. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like that's one of like my bigger complaints, is that like I couldn't play this game for like a long amount of time, because again, it would hurt my eyes, like, and it hurt my eyes and hurt my head. Like I would start feeling genuinely like, ugh, like I need to like not like lie down, but just like not look at this game for a minute, which is funny because I would pause the game and kind of listen to the music go on for a while, because again, the music's so good that I was like ended up kind of like listening to it for a while.
Yeah, one whole summer I played this, and there'd be plenty of times where I would wake up in the morning, play it for like a long time, and then around like 1-2 o'clock I'd be like, I have to lay down.
Was this recently?
No, this was back like when it originally came out.
Okay, so even when you were younger, then you still felt like,
right, I was just like, oh, like I need to lie down for a minute.
Yeah. And usually I do pretty well with like motion, like cameras in games. Right, I don't really get motion sickness in like first person shooters and all that other stuff.
Right.
But I remember I don't know, there must be like a specific thing for it, because I remember like the one game I can think of in my mind that like specifically remember having like motion sickness for. Do you remember this like Rugrats game that was on the PS1, where like Tommy could run on the ceiling? It was like a Mirror World, Bizarro Worlds type of level.
No.
So it was like
I think the only Rugrats game I played was on the N64 as for the second movie.
Okay, yeah, so the Rugrats in Paris.
Yeah, Rugrats in Paris.
So there was a level on the PS1 where the world's all topsy turvy essentially. It could be, like, again, I was like a Mirror World. Like I don't remember that episode of Rugrats. But like basically he's on the ceiling, but everything's right side up. And then I want to say at one point it will flip right side up again. Yeah, because the world was upside down, or sorry, the ceiling was the floor, and you looked at it like properly, like as if Tommy's just standing, but he's just on the ceiling, and the world's just flipped upside down, but Tommy's on the ceiling, and then a point in the level, it will flip, where now Tommy's on the ceiling, and the ceiling's on the top again, but you'll still be walking around in the same manner, so it would throw me off.
Yeah. And
that threw my equilibrium super out of whack. I remember that as a kid. So like there were very specific things that would like throw me off. It has to be something that like Siege. Like when I'm playing Siege, like if I'm hanging upside down, I'm trying to navigate how to move around a window, but I'm moving the wrong way because I'm upside down technically. You know what I mean? Stuff like that throws me off. But like for other stuff like quick moving, whipping, action, camera stuff really doesn't bother me, because even when I play video games, I'm kind of whippy when I whip my mouse around. So this one, I'm surprised it actually bothered me like that much. Where like I had to stop playing for like an hour or two, for like 5-10 minutes, just like, which is fine, I guess. I'm like, okay, cool, I can go grab like a drink, let the dog outside real quick, give myself like 10-15 minutes, and then come back to the game and start playing again.
Damn, so you heard it, Lakan let the dogs out.
Yeah, I did it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like
do you have a favorite song?
Because
the music hits you right when you turn the game on. Yeah. Like I love the title theme, Concept of Love.
What's the I don't like it. Not at all.
Not at all.
Yeah, that one's also the one with the chick yelling. I don't know what the name of that song was.
Which one? Like, sing it a little.
Man, I'm not gonna nail this song. No, I was like, that's the thing. It was weird because it was kind of like it was still kind of like noisy. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know how to explain this one. Let me go and just find this one.
Because the game does have a good mix of like poppy stuff or like like R&B. So I do like that the soundtrack is very diverse.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a very wide soundtrack, and I do enjoy that a lot. Fly Like a Butterfly is also a really good song.
That song's good. I like Isle 10.
Basically, anything by Hideki Naganuma is like a jam, because he also did music for like another game that I really enjoy, Lethal League, and Lethal League Blaze. And like when you hear the song, you're like, that's him. I don't like, even back then I was like, because again I barely played Jet Set, right? So I didn't really have an attachment to it. But I was playing Lethal League, and I was like, that's him. I don't know who he is, but I know he's him. Like he's really important for some reason. You know what I mean? I can kind of hear the music from him. Let's see here. So Like a Butterfly, that's good.
I think they need a new version of Humming the Bass Line, which they took from Jet Grind.
This one.
That song's pretty good.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to play that, but
yeah,
if
copyright strikes all over the place.
Yeah, so listeners, if there's nothing going on in the background right now, it's probably because I had to cut out the original piece of music that I was playing in the background on my phone, and the microphone picked it up. But the song that when Buff asked me if there's a song specifically that I really enjoyed was so I mentioned anything by Hideki Naganuma, right? That's perfectly. He just kind of like, he's kind of like, I don't know if he's the main musician, but it looks like it anyway, because it looks like they have a lot of songs from him. But yeah, the song's called Birthday Cake by Cibo Mato. Yeah, I'm assuming Cibo, 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 Mato. Yeah, so yeah, but like it's kind of like the female vocals. She's kind of screamy in it, but like it has this like kind of like old school breakbeat thing kind of underneath it, really steady, kind of thing, right? And it's like I don't know what it is about it, but it seems so like angsty almost, but
Right.
while still feeling like really cute and poppy because it's the chick just yelling the whole time.
I forget the name of the song, but one of the songs is it's about the Mario Brothers.
About the Mario Brothers. Humming the bass. You said humming the bass line before. That was
Humming the Bass Line. Yeah, I think they did a remake of that.
For this one. Yeah, I see it right here. The Lance Bros bounce. The Latch Bros bounce.
I believe so. No.
Okay, well, while Bubba's looking that up, I'm gonna go through my notes a little bit more here. For about the game, and then again, Bubba can just tag back in if he finds the song or is something that he wants to expand upon here from my notes. Oh yeah, so the game's story based, right? Again, I mentioned before, like kind of like how Tony Hawk 4 and Thug were, right? Tony Hawk's Underground, where you kind of just play in the area until you're done, right? Except for the fact that you tag everything. You said the tagging was simplified, right, in comparison to the previous game.
It was Super Brothers, but that was Jet Grind Radio. I confused my.
Okay, there you go. So you're not the true gamer then.
No, I guess not.
But yeah, so you said.
But the tagging used to be like you would stand in front of the tag and then you would do like quarter circles or full circles, like motions with the
thumbstick.
Yeah, with the thumbstick.
Oh,
this one you're just pressing right trigger, I believe it was.
Yeah, you hold right trigger basically. Yeah. I saw a video because I had no idea what the hell you meant by it. So I was like, are you not moving when it's happening, kind of thing, or it's like?
So it kind of sucks because it's like
you have to stop what you're doing.
You're
right?
stopping. You come to a complete stop and you're doing the tag, but like if you're getting chased by the police in Jet Grind, like now they're shooting you.
Yeah.
And so you're just open to hits.
Yeah, so like I saw a video of them like online of just seeing like certain characters had different tag patterns too, right? From what it looked like. So I was like, that's kind of a cool thing. Like they're not a lot of games that kind of did that same concept, at least in the exact same way. Like I remember the Warriors game had something like that where you would, because they would tag in that game because they were a gang,
right?
But like you had to like trace something essentially, right, for that game. And Wonderful 101, you drew shapes of the character of
right.
like with the right stick or on the touchpad.
Yeah, on the Wii U that you use the stylus.
On the gamepad to draw the shape,
pad.
The shape that you wanted them to go into, basically. So I was like, okay, that's kind of a cool thing. But I was like, I'm assuming that's because it's a really cool mechanic. But yeah, again, it kind of sucks if you're getting chased or you're in the middle of like a fight, essentially, where you have to stop what you're doing to like.
Yeah, because I felt in some of the levels, like you said, there's the police sergeant, he's trying to shoot you.
Yeah.
It was the same thing in Grind where it's like, there's cops and stuff shooting at you, and it's like, I gotta stop and do the graffiti.
Yeah. And also, again, as I said before, like the game really emphasizes like flow, right? Even again, the character bios, like or the stat sheet, essentially. Like you watch them, like doing like a skate line in the garage area. You know what I mean? So it's like it kind of sucks if you have to stop what you're in the middle of what you're doing to start, trying to hammering out shapes, on a control stick. But yeah, so like the tagging part was cool. It was like okay, like they were relatively easily located on the map, right?
Did you go into the creative tag?
No, I didn't realize that was a thing.
Yeah, so you could like make your own. I had no artistic ability, so I never.
And I'm assuming you're also like using the game's in-games assets, right? You
right. So
you couldn't import anything with like, Xbox had a memory card, but like I'm assuming you couldn't. Really
no, you couldn't import anything at that time, but yeah, you could make like your own stuff, which was like cool.
That's
so
cool.
like you could use like pre-rendered stuff and just put stuff together, or you could like actually kind of like
draw it out.
Yeah, draw
with
it
a thumbstick if you're a madman.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never saw that part. Let me hold on.
It's still cool that they gave you the option, but
yeah,
obviously if they did it now, there'd be like so many crazy things.
Oh, I'm assuming so. Like think of all the tools that all the things people made in like the Halo like emblem tools. You know what I mean?
Right,
It's like there you go. Yeah, let me hold on to the game for a couple more days, and I'll just I just want to see the rest of the features. There was a certain point where I kind of was like, once I finished the game and I did a little bit more of getting what are they called, the beat souls.
Yeah.
I just kind of like okay, I'm good now. I've unlocked a certain amount of characters, and I kind of I think at that point would have been like, okay, now I want to see how multiplayer worked.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's just like tag or like a
there's
race.
that. There's like race. There's one where you're like carrying a ball and you're trying to outrace the other team.
Yeah, I
like
remember
laps.
that one. Yeah, because that was an in-game thing, which was funny because I just never passed it to my teammate,
right?
And just like skating. I wonder if you could throw the ball and like boost to the ball if that counted or not. But I think it reset if the ball hit the ground. I think it was.
Right.
So I was like, oh, I'm actually like.
I played that a lot with Zach and his brother. And
okay, because they're So like, I'm sure that there's more people in our group who weren't really like into this game or didn't really play this game and don't have this like kind of connection to it. But like, yeah, like our friend Zach, his brother Demetrius, like, and you of course like enjoyed this game a lot. That you enjoyed playing multiplayer.
Yeah, because they were big Sega marks.
Yeah, those guys are Sega guys. Like that was they're the holdouts in this group essentially. Like they were like this machine was great at the, even back then. I was like, yeah, I'm sure it was. I just didn't care about it back then because
I mean, the Dreamcast was great. The problem it had was it was just easily piratable.
I do remember that being like.
So it's just like, eventually nobody was just buying games and they were pirating.
Which is so funny too, because I remember everyone back in the day, today, and even back then, people acknowledged that the console was ahead of its time. Like, it's like.
Yeah, because it had an internet browser. It had online play. It didn't have a DVD player, and that's why the PlayStation killed it.
It essentially had
it
essentially had a modernized controller already at that point too.
It didn't have a second stick.
No, it didn't. But like at least in terms of like layout,
it
was already pretty modern. Actually, I was kind of like the
VMU was a cool feature.
Yeah, that was really cool. It was a really, really cool feature. I remember like messing with it more as I was older at that point because we got ours super late,
like a Tamagotchi. In some cases.
I also actually kind of like the fact that the triggers were a little lower. Your hand kind of relax a little bit more and kind of like less super low. A lot of the games that came out in the Dreamcast felt very ahead of their time, which is kind of cool that they got essentially like a one generation port over essentially, right? Because again, this would have been the PS1 competition era, right? Technically,
Dreamcast unfortunately was like in between, so it came before the PS2.
Yeah, it was $9.99,
but a little after, like the PS1 and 64.
So there you go. So yeah, it's kind of sat in this weird kind of middle ground where like it's like it had to compete against like essentially like 1.5, 2 generations of consoles and like the next generation.
Right, like it was a clear upgrade from the PS1 and 64, but then like PS2 came out, had DVD player, the graphics were better. Like it still had the Sony name.
So had a little bit,
and then as we know, what the PlayStation 2 was
the most
selling console of all time.
I think still to this day, pretty sure.
I think the Switch is closing in on it.
Yeah, I think it needs like 100, I think another 100 million, which like it probably can do. Like I wouldn't doubt it. Like if there's another year or two of the Switch, right? This is gonna be a dated episode if we get past that point, right? I'm glad that this game got like a port like later down the line, so that I can experience this because like even though I have a Dreamcast, it's also getting kind of hard to find this game. You know what I mean? Like nowadays, I'm sure I can find a bootleg of it or whatever, but like or a ROM and emulate it myself. But it's like you want to. I like to experience most things in the original hardware. That's like a big thing that for me anyway.
Well, this game it did get a re-release and it was the pack-in game with Sega GT in like
the Sega Collection thingy, whatever it was called.
No, so it came like when the Xbox released and had the pack-in combo disc. One of them was Sega GT and Jet Set Radio. Then I think the next one was like Clone Wars and Tetris or something like. Or I forgot the second game, but
because I have Jet Set Radio on the computer.
Yeah,
but I think that's the original one, Jet Grind Radio. I think on the PC. I have to check later, but and again, I know you mentioned that they were different beforehand, so that's why I played it specifically on the Xbox instead of like,
So, you could play this game on the 360. You cannot play this game on the Xbox One.
So there's not another port over of that game, basically.
So I think they were trying. Xbox wanted to do a port or to allow you to play this on the Xbox One.
Yeah.
But I feel like, there's no official reason for it, but a lot of people say it's probably because of the music, the
Okay.
licensing
Yeah,
and stuff
yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
I
Probably
wouldn't
like
doubt that.
expired, so they couldn't, port it.
Yeah, I getcha. Actually, speaking of which, this is like kind of coincidental and honestly bad timing on my part, but like, so Bomb Rush Cyberpunk just came out.
Right, August 18th.
Yesterday.
Yes.
Yeah, we're dating this episode now, but and it would have been cool to have this episode come out, the weekend of. I mean, no matter what, it would have been weekend before, weekend after anyway, just because of the way the show's like schedule works. But I saw a tweet. I'm not gonna call it an X or a post or whatever. It's a tweet. It's Twitter. Where the devs said that the soundtrack for Bomb Rush Cyberpunk is going to be copyright free. They're allowing, so it's going to be perfectly fine for people to stream the game with music on. Because when you think about like a game like, especially like that has like a hardcore fan base like this, there is going to be that uptick as well. From old players and old streamers and content creators, and probably a couple new ones too, right? But like they're going to stream the game and be like, oh, is there music okay that's for me to stream? You know what I mean? I don't want to get copyrighted or whatever, or content blocked, right, for their streams or their or for their VODs or whatever. So kind of a cool thing that where because it is modernized and they're kind of navigating this space a little bit differently now, especially in the world of like video game music and content creation and copyright law and DRM stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like they're just like, no, go ahead, just stream the game. Like we're gonna allow everybody to just play you're not gonna get a copyright check from the music development company or the music company whatsoever.
I guess that's the difference between like big companies and indie developers, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Especially back then, because again, like this, who I forgot who this one was. Who was this developed by again?
Sega published it, and Smilebite, I think, created it.
Okay, so yeah, like if it's gonna be attached to like another, like a big company's name, they probably have to work. Like they probably have like specific like things in place where like they have to be careful about what they do and what they can't do.
But with Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, I believe they took a lot of the team that did Jet Set Radio, and I believe it's the same musicians and stuff too. So.
Yeah, from what I saw, because I remember like looking into a little bit of it and like hearing some of the music, I'm like, yep, this sounds very, very similar. Again, Lethal League, I think they went out of their way to hire some of those people because again the aesthetic is very, very similar. Like kind of that like cartoony street rogue aesthetic. You know what I mean? Like they do that as well in Lethal League and Lethal League Blaze. Where the cast is super colorful, but like has a little bit of edge to them, but they're not like dangerous looking. You know what I mean? It's like they have like it's
just unique characters.
Yeah, basically, it's just really cool character design. And I think they went that same way with the music, so it's like again kind of matches up. And again, it's kind of like a testament to like how impactful this game really, really was in the long run, right? Like where like you may not think of it, but you're like, oh, I feel like I've seen this before, and you realize if you follow the DNA back far enough, you end up here. You end up with Jet Set or Jet Grind, whichever one, basically, right? Actually, speaking of that, just reminded me of something. You said that Beat was the main character in the original one.
Yeah, you played as Beat. I mean, same thing. You could pick different characters, but he was kind of like the main character. This one, so he's you kind
of picked him up randomly out of nowhere. Yeah. Yo-Yo was the main character, kind of, right? And I bounced around as well too. Like I played Yo-Yo for the first like third of the game, just because I was like, well, he's the main. If he's the quote unquote main character, I'm just gonna play with him.
So I think in Grind you get him like midway through, so I didn't really have an attachment to him. So I feel like when I unlocked Beat, because you unlock him pretty early in the game, I switched to him immediately. I liked Combo a lot, the guy with the boombox.
Really?
Yeah.
Because he was the first heavy, I guess, that I picked up, and I was like, too slow, can't do this. But yeah,
I liked him because like he has the bigger health pool, so like you will fall a lot in this game.
Yeah,
and you take fall damage.
Yeah,
so I'm like, to have the extra health pool is always convenient.
I think I kind of figured out how to mitigate fall damage really early on. I realized as long as you're doing a trick, you can keep doing tricks until you land, and that will negate fall damage.
Right.
So that is one thing that like I will have to admit that like my current modern gaming sensibilities, like I like to break games a little bit. You know what I mean? I like to see like what's the limit of how far I can push like a certain mechanic, and I realized as long as you're doing tricks, I'm assuming people knew this back then too, but like it's like even before I went back to do the tutorial, you know, because I said before, like I didn't realize how to do the tricks and all this stuff and how to actually do them, like on command. I was like, it's a timing thing. Okay, got it. I figured that part out, and then I basically went back to confirm it with Bobot. If you jump off, like the perfect example, like the dragon. The dragon in Chinatown, right?
Yeah.
Area, Rokakudo or whatever.
Rokakudai Heights.
Is that what it's called?
Something akin to that.
One of those. The Chinatown. I jumped off the dragon, and like I just made sure that I was doing tricks all the way down, and I realized even with like the smaller characters like Gum, you know, like Yo-Yo, Beat, Corn, like you can, as long as you're doing a trick all the way down, you don't take fall damage. So I was like, oh, that's cool. Okay, cool. So I kind of figured that part out. And then, of course, if you just land on a rail, that also negates, like, fall damage. Anything grindable.
So I guess other things about this, did you know that I think there was an indie developer that they presented a sequel to this game for the Wii, and they had, like, a good, like, amount of build for it, but then I believe Sega declined it.
Did they?
Yeah.
Huh.
And then
I never heard of this part.
And then I think recently a video came out where, like, you know, a lot of people saw this video and we weren't sure if it was true that this is at like a Sega conference or something like that, or again, this is all leaked stuff, but they showed like a Persona 3 remake, a new Jet Set Radio, and something else. And we, you know, as of now, we got the Persona 3 remake, so people are like, oh, is there going to be a new Jet Set Radio?
How long ago was this?
It was making the rounds on Twitter at the time. This is a few months ago already.
Yeah, I don't...
This year, 2023.
So I never saw the actual rumors. I know obviously the Persona bit, that I know that was announced already, but yeah, I never actually saw the previous rumors before that. That's cool. Like, especially now that I'm more invested in it, you know, because I had a recent hands-on experience.
I guess it is weird with like Sega in particular. Like Sonic is kind of the only game that they consistently make games for.
Yeah,
you know, like they've had a lot of
that's
you know, like in-house games like Toe Jam and Earl and Knights and this
kind of come back, but not really.
Right, and it's just like, you know, they've kind of been lost to time. Whereas like, you know, Nintendo, they're going to make a Mario every year. They're going to make Zelda. They're going to make, you know, like they support Pikmin a lot.
Or if not every year, there's always going to be like a big game for every console that comes out for them.
Right.
Maybe two.
Yeah, like, you know, even Star Fox gets a game every, you know.
Couple years.
Right.
I think they had one in like 2018 or something.
Yeah, they had one for N64. They had two for GameCube. He had one for, Wii
U. I think one or two. Yeah, one for the Wii U and then like two for...
They had a lot for
two for the
DS.
DSs, yeah. Because one was a re-release and then another one was technically like a slightly different game. I remember people didn't really like that one.
But like the only thing Sega consistently supports is...
Sonic. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, again, it'd be cool now that I've actually like played this game proper, right, a little bit now, and like actually have like some skin in the game. Like now I care a little bit more because like again back then I was like, I remember Jet Grind just being like a cool game, and I didn't really know a whole lot about it, but I remember it was fun for the little bit that I played it. Now that I've like actually got to experience it and kind of really got to sink my teeth into the game mechanics and how the game plays and that really kind of floaty feel. That's another point that the game's really floaty. You know, I think that's what kind of sets it a little bit different from like the Tony Hawk in terms of like feel wise.
Yeah, Tony Hawk is more like realism based.
Kinda ish. Like at least if not realism based, it just feels faster. You don't hang out in the air as much. You know what I mean? You jump
right.
Up,
it's not like SSX Tricky where it's like you're spinning and flying in the air forever.
Yeah. Like Skate is obviously closer to like a more of like a sim than anything else. But like if we go in like in terms of like feel wise, yeah, it's like Skate, Tony Hawk's, and then this game which you float, and then SSX Tricky where you're just in the air forever basically. Yeah. But yeah, like in terms of again, like just this like arcadey type of feel for this game, I think was like perfect for the time, and I think even now again it holds up very very well. And like I think from my understanding, that same feeling has kind of transferred to Bomber Cyberpunk. I haven't got a chance to play it yet. I'm probably gonna be playing it this weekend, basically, because now that I've gotten to play Jet Set, I'm gonna go play the newer version of it, the spiritual successor to this game.
Are you gonna go get it for? I think it's out for PC and Switch now.
It's already out on PC. I already
have it. Next month, I believe, is
Xbox. I believe, and PlayStation. Yeah, I think it's next month. So that's kind of wild that they focused on the Switch for that one. But that's cool. Like, that's really
what they call the Switch the indie console, don't they?
Yeah, that is true. Like in terms of support for indie games, that is a major point for it. So that's really cool. I wonder if they have anything different with terms of like the mechanics for the Joy-Cons and stuff like that, the controllers. It'd be kind of cool if they did something for it. But I'm probably not gonna get it for the Switch anyway. I've already committed to getting it on PC. I already have it in my cart.
PC.
PC. Yeah, one of those gremlins. Yeah, you got any more questions for me? Because I have a couple more notes here, but
spit it out.
Okay. Oh, the map. I think I mentioned it before, but the map's not great.
Oh, you mean the pause menu map?
Yeah. Like specifically, like I remember trying to get to the the underground, like the sewer facility, and then navigating the sewer facility.
I think, like we said before, it's like the verticality stuff. Like the map.
We talked a little bit offline. But like, yeah, there's a verticality to the map. The icons are too big, and then they left the wording on the map. So it's just like, if I rotate the map, I still just see words and how big the big arrow is, which is your character, and obviously what direction they're looking. And it's like, I can't see where the fuck I am. I'm just like, it's not helping me. And it's like, I kind of wish like there was like I was hoping for
like a zoom in map or
a zoom in map, or I was like, if the modern sensibility goes, I can choose a location and I can have a nav arrow. Because, like, certain parts, like, if you're trying to leave an area too early before you actually finish what you're supposed to do in there, there'd be, like, a nav arrow there, but then it would go away. I'm like, what's this for? If you're going to, like, if you show me this for, like, 3-4 seconds and then fade away. Because it's not actually helping me at that point. It's just,
it's
like...
just confusing you.
Yeah, because I'm like, where am I supposed to go to then? Because you're just telling me, no, go back the opposite way. It's like, but you've already told me that with the wrong way sign. You know what I mean? Or the game talks to you. Like, the guy, the DJ's like, hey, you're not done yet. And just like... Okay, where am I supposed to go?
I'll say Sega's had a problem with nav arrows because the Crazy Taxi, that nav arrow could definitely screw you over a lot.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, just the 3D map space, 3D spaced map with the indicators were too big, just hard to figure out where I was going. And again, there's no modern like here's a checkpoint arrow, you know what I mean, kind of thing. There's none of that here. I shifted on the playable characters a bit. I spent again like the first third of the game playing as Yo-Yo, and then shifted over to the original part of the gang, like Gum, Corn, right? I got beat. Garam. I did try. Who's the big guy again?
Combo. Cube was like the goth
girl, which I was
Okay.
Rhyth, I think her name was.
Rhythm?
It's weird. You just said Rhyth, not Rhythm. It's like, okay.
You think that was a translation error?
Maybe, because there was a little bit of like weird like wording in sometimes when I saw certain things. Like I'll mention that in the next note. But I ended up going back to playing like mostly Gum and Rhyth towards the end of the game, because Gum had really good cornering, and I think that also helped me not get motion sick for the most part, because she was able to turn on a dime. It felt like the camera wouldn't whip as often, basically. And Rhyth was, I think it's because she had an extra 5 cans of paint.
Yeah, the extra paint was also a big.
It just made it like easier for me. Like, okay, you have less health with both of these characters, but it's like, okay, but it's fine.
Because sometimes it sucked.
The utility's better.
You finally found like the last tag you had to get, and then because you like were boosting so much, which also uses your paint cans.
Yeah.
You get up there and you're like, shit, I needed like 8 paint cans and I only have 5 paint cans. Oh, now I gotta go all the way back down to go get paint cans.
Yeah, now to get like whatever that like apartment block looking area was, right. It's like, okay, I have to save all my cans because I'm not doing this like obstacle course just to get my, because I can boost, but then I have to jump every time on every like long rail so I can get 5 more cans. I'm like, I'm not doing this. I'm gonna go up the slow way, save all my cans, just do the 2 jumps that I need to get up there. And then, like, fine. Like, I'm not. I as much as I want to like get this part over with, I'm not going to use the 10 cans to boost up here, or 20 cans to boost up here and do that. Actually, yeah, perfect example is like the last quote unquote fight, right, against the weird mecha machine thing that the guy was riding in, right. Yeah. It took like. I would boost like once and be like, okay, I have 20 cans now. That should be okay to get me through like the first like tag him once over kind of thing. And then I remember like doing it in like 3 because again, the second time I boosted twice. I was like, oh, cool, I can get out of here. I'll finish him off with this one. I was like a sliver of health short. And I was like, I need 1 can. Like, fuck. I have to jump all the way back down, do all this traversing again for one more can of paint so I can finish this damn boss off. And just be like, man, if I played gum for that fight, it would have been a lot easier because I would have had the extra 5 cans on me.
But back to the characters, I think you can find like 10 pretty easily, but then like I think in total there's
a lot.
There's like 20, 30 characters because you could unlock all the different gang members. Yeah. You could unlock the final boss. You could unlock the robot.
The zero beat.
Yeah, the zero beat. You can unlock the dog.
Pretty big cast. I didn't. I heard the dog was unlockable. I did have no idea how to do it. I'm assuming
you have to collect like all the graffiti souls in certain areas, and then it unlocks like a secret like mission you have to do. Okay. And some of the missions are like ridiculous, like you have to grind every rail or something in that area without falling.
Jesus.
Or like
some of them are already kind of rough.
Like, right, like you have to jump on the bus terminal like awnings in a certain order. And you have to figure that order out yourself or something like that. Jeez. Like, there was, like, a lot of stupid, like...
Yeah. And I remember this was, like, in the beginnings of the internet. Right. So, like, you could go onto, like... I'm trying to, like, game tips or, like...
Game FAQs. Like,
FAQs, yeah. That, like, any one of these, like, websites that are just... They're basically just old-school forums, right? There's, like, game facts,
but then you have to figure out if that was, like... You know, if the guy's actual... like guide, like, is this right?
Was his theory right in the first place?
Right, or like, is this like, is this spelled out right?
Yeah, like, Jesus Christ. Yeah, so like, there was this definitely was also like on the cusp of like all of us sharing knowledge online of like how to do certain things,
or if someone was just trolling you,
or just trolling, yeah. But yeah, like it's like it's like, do you remember like Mortal Kombat where like somebody said they fought Reptile for the first time,
right?
And like no one believed them because they were like, oh no, you have to get an uppercut kill and like with the moon in the background. And it's like, oh, what the fuck? Oh, how?
Or like Pokemon and Mew's under that secret car by the SSN
where? Like, how do you guys, like, and then like, technically one of them could be true, but it's just like, how do you figure this out? What were you doing? How do you remember what you were doing? Because we're children. We're usually just kind of blasting through things, especially.
Well, do you remember seeing Missing No for the first time in Pokemon?
Yes, I do. I remember seeing that.
I remember my friend told me about that. I was blown away. Absolutely blown away.
Yeah.
I was like, how did somebody figure this out anyway?
Yeah, like why would you be on this part of Cinnabar?
Cinnabar, yeah, because you had to do like that thing where you had to talk to the old man in Viridian, and then you had to go to Cinnabar and just surf the coast.
Yeah, it's like
why would somebody be doing this in this order?
Yeah.
but we digress.
So we get distracted here. You guys are listening to the show, we tangent. But yeah, like. So like I grabbed a couple most of the main characters relatively easily. The ones who just kind of show up randomly, they kind of I'll pick you up right off the bat. And then I see the ones where you grab this Greavy Soul and then they show up. You know what I mean? Like, okay, so that's cool. Because I had like 55-ish, maybe close to 60.
I think there's like 100 graffitis.
Yeah, I had like 55 or 60. So I think that's also why I played the game. I have 15 hours-ish on the game right now, which the game I remember to how long to beat.
You saw you could change your graffitis though, right? Like there's already pre-rendered ones.
Yeah, you mentioned it earlier. Yeah, I didn't even realize that was a thing. But was it
because there's a lot of cool designs.
Yeah, I'm sure. There was again very very much so inspired by like street art, street stock culture in this game clearly. So.
I like that there's graffiti is vandalism warning in the beginning.
Yes,
don't go graffiti.
This is very, very of the time. It's like, okay, please don't do this. And it's like now it is. It's still technically illegal, but like it's obviously I don't know if games would even have this at this point. You know what I mean? It felt like there was much more of an issue back then. Which is funny because if this game was made for like a Japanese audience, I'm pretty sure they're not going around tagging.
I mean, who knows, right?
I'm pretty sure they weren't. They might have been. Again, there's like a small counterculture, subculture type of thing. So it could have been for all I know. Let's see here. Taggers tag can get really old real quick. Like, especially like on the roller coaster one where there's 3 of them. And I'm like, God, please. Just like, and if you knock them off, you can't tag them. You have to wait for them to respawn to chase them back up again. I was like, yeah, okay, fine.
I do kind of wish that was like an insta-kill. Like if you knock them off like a height and then they just fall into the abyss.
And same if they knock you off. It's like, okay, cool, then restart the race again.
Right.
Found out you can also cheese most races that are like 1v1 by just spraying as soon as it starts because you're so close to the opponent anyway. Like you just wait a second, like half a second for them to get ahead of you, then go and then just start spraying. And it's like cool, just cheese most of these real quickly.
I feel like a lot of times also like sometimes if you bumped into them on like a turn or a corner or something, they would like get stuck in the corner and then you're just
also happened pretty often. Yeah,
right.
In the sewer, I think that also happened to me too, where like, one guy got caught on a corner, even though I'd spent the first like 10 minutes trying to like chase him on the stupid pipes, like those weird windy like Microsoft window wallpaper like pipes. I was like, God, this is so annoying. And then he chased me I chased him to a different area. I was like, oh wait, okay, cool. So he finally got past this instead of just looping, and he ended up like stuck on a corner going up the stairs. I'm like, oh sweet, let's go, just make this free.
I do appreciate that they tried to do different things, but it's like, oh, the main thing was like, oh, you wanted to just skate around the area, tag,
and
like,
explore
the walls and
kind
stuff. Tagging the people, got annoying a little bit.
Again, I said before that the roller. Speaking of which, the roller coaster fight. That one really fucked me up.
Yeah.
Like a lot of turning in that one, a lot of like zooming, and I was like, I'm getting a fucking headache from this one. And the last level too, because the psychedelic the psychedelic colors with like the static, just like the rails. And then just the spinning, and I was like, I can't. I'm like, I'm gonna throw up.
Just like real roller coasters.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. One random. This is my last like funny bit here. That I found funny anyway. When you fought the golden rhinos near the end of the game, those fuckers died.
Yeah.
Like one guy shot with a fucking missile, and the other one had a billboard fall on them. Like they're fucking dead.
Yeah, but they're the bad guys.
Yeah, but they fucking died. Like everyone else is like, you're just kind of tagging and like kind of knocking over, like roller derbying them onto the ground. Like, okay, move along. These people got murdered. I was like, what the hell?
I mean, in Mario, you throw Bowser in lava. You're telling me he's not dying.
Yeah, but these are people.
Oh well.
I was like,
Koopas are people too.
It just felt so it just felt so funny how we're ramped up for these guys specifically, because everyone else is kind of like you're knocking them over and tagging them, and everything's kind of like a small town small timey like gang war without it's like,
I mean, it's gangs, people die.
But everyone else before this was just tagging paint. And
well, the cops are shooting you.
Yeah, and you're not dying.
Oh well.
And then towards the end of the
it could be like in Looney Tunes, when the anvil falls on him, he doesn't die.
And then near the end, the last end bit of the game as well, where like all the special units come out with the where there's just two dudes, like especially if you go towards like what's the name of the train station or the main metropolitan area, Shinigami Way or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Whatever it was. The one with the awnings, the one with the bus terminals, right? There's just two dudes in bear suits just shooting randomly into the crowd. Again, like, what the fuck happened? It escalated really hard towards the end of the game. And I understand that the point of the thing is, again, like, the police system and all this stuff is, like, super corrupt, and there's another guy actually like, pulling the strings behind everything, and it's like, yeah, it's like just the way they escalated was so intense. I was like, "What the fuck is happening?" Because again, I was following the story for the most part. It was very Japanese, and then that's where it's like, "Oh God, okay, this is officially where like the Japanese weirdness kind of really, really hops in here." And like, it was like, "Okay, I was following this, and now I'm no longer following this now."
Well, and then you know why you're gang one? It's the power of friendship.
Yeah, exactly. You broke yourself out of the weird, trippy drug dimension to beat the weird interdimensional clock tower guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Weird. He was fucking weird. That's basically all the notes that I got. Again, I had a pretty good time with it. Like again, really cool, colorful cast of characters. Here's one. I supposed to mention this before because we talked about like translation thing. Which is chosen, and it's like, why would you like? You know what I mean? Like when it's basically like yes or no, like in the in-game thing. But instead of just doing yes or no and then just putting the options, it just said like which is chosen. I'm like, that's a weird translation choice. You know what I mean? It's like you could have just like reworded it or used a different statement, but like, that just felt and then for some reason, like when you start the game and it said like pick a game already,
Yeah.
And it was like, that's a little aggressive, but again, it's kind of like, again, this game is meant to have like a little bit of like attitude to it, and I was like, again, I wonder if that translated specifically for them to use that kind of energy for the game's wording and stuff like that. So
Could have just been the 2000s.
Could have been, yeah. Again, that was still like the Attitude Era, right? Or like extreme sports were still kind of really, really popping off at the time, right? The X Games were really starting to get big around that time, so it's like, okay, yes, like, it's a bit of like attitude and like kind of like a cultural thing. So
yeah, look at all the extreme sports games we talked about that came out specifically in this time period.
Yeah.
Tony Hawk's, SSX,
Yeah.
Aggressive Inline, Jet Set Radio. Everything was very based on extreme sports.
Yeah, very, very big at the time. I think everyone had their own little different spin on it, and some of them obviously succeeded more than others.
The second Goofy movie was about extreme sports.
Yeah, exactly.
As our previous episode has stated.
Yeah. So, oops. But yeah, so like again, very much so like it's a very cool game, very stylized game, which I really, really, really enjoyed.
And to me, that's why it was, like I love Tony Hawk. I played that a lot, but this game's more memorable to me because of the art style. Because Tony Hawk also had great music, but this music was unique.
Yeah, very much so, and we got to experience like again, kind of like a different version of like. Because especially back then, like, we were getting Japanese stuff, but like nothing like this. It was kind of, I mean, I'm sure there was, but like something like this where it had very like a lot of musicians were very Japanese. This is like their Japanese version of hip hop.
Yeah.
Too, you know what I mean? So you experience something very, very different. Like even though it felt similar, you know what I mean? There was like, it was like something's different about this, something's off about this that I'm not putting my finger on, but I'm enjoying it. So very, very, very cool. Like no joke. They like actually like a very cool game. You know what I mean? Like it's feels more timeless than like, I mean, don't be wrong. Tony Hawk's still feel very timeless, right? And
but that's why I feel like SSX, like you remember the characters. Tony Hawk, it's like, oh, you picked what? Tony Hawk or Bob Burnquist, but it was all
major,
just a bunch of like
major skater. Yeah,
they all looked like the same guys.
Yeah, like Kareem Campbell and all that. Yeah, but it's like, okay, but those are also real people. You know what I mean? So it's like I already have a vision of who these people are.
Yeah.
But then it's like I play a game like this, SSX Tricky. In general, like any game that has a very more cartoonified version of like a character, like the Fight Night games, right? Like okay, I remember Fight Night, but then what was the game that everyone remembers if you play like boxing games, like Ready to Rumble?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you remember
Punch Out.
Or like exactly. They're characters in those games versus like, oh, these are the people that actually like know of them. You know what I mean? So this is a little different. They don't stick out as much unless you're actually like a boxing fan, right? But yeah, if there's like a cartoon character that's like sticks out very, very, extreme, it's like, okay, I'll remember that more than I remember like the real character type of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's basically all my notes. Again, I had a good time with the game. If you got any more questions, I'm down to answer them.
No,
that's basically it.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah, and it also gave me a good chance to bust out my Xbox. It's been a while since I've actually popped it out of my little storage cabinet here and like hooked everything up, and I was like, oh, this is nice to have again. Also, forgot how loud the Xbox is.
Yeah, that the fan and the computer in there.
Laser, the little
like,
laser reader. I'm like, oh, is this?
Yeah, is this gonna blow up?
I was like, I'm pretty sure this was fine last time, and I was like, when's the last time I actually popped this? Opened this thing up, and kind of thing. And I was like, no, I'm pretty sure. And then after a while, I was like, nope, I'm pretty sure this was just as loud last time I had it opened up and cleaned.
The Xbox has some good titles that haven't gotten a sequel or port or anything. So
yeah, I mean, again, a lot of those games are getting like spiritual successors from this point on. I think now, right? Just because a lot of the weirdness of like we mentioned before, like of like copyright and like certain companies not supporting their games fully after like the 1-2 releases that they actually get, right? But it'd be hopefully in the future there's just more and more passion projects. Again, we're seeing like Bomb Rush, right? That's like literally a true spiritual successor to Jet Set, right?
Yeah, and like Mighty Number 9 was the successor to Mega Man, unfortunately. Or what was the ukulele?
The banjo. Yeah, that was Hopefully we get good spiritual successors to. I actually have a couple of recommendations for you. You're not a PC guy, but you might.
Or maybe we just get sequels to these games.
Maybe that'd be cool. Yeah, I do have a recommendation for you actually later down the line. We'll talk about it for Mega Man that I really, really like. But yeah, so I guess that's really it for our episode then, right? We kind of covered everything that I thought of anyways, and you wanted to ask me for this game, right? That's basically it.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
And I do recommend to everybody, you know, go listen to the soundtrack. Soundtrack is very, very good.
Yeah, I think that like gameplay wise, it may be a little bit dated, but like if you take a minute to like really push yourself into the headspace, it feels very good still, right? It's more than not dated. It feels arcadey. It's not a simulation game. That's what I meant to say. The camera feels dated. It gave me a headache, and again, I don't have motion sickness issues, but that one really threw me off a little bit. But the rest of the game, very, very good, very fun. Like kind of again, just enjoy the free skate play style of the game, basically, and you know, again, a really cool aesthetic that I think has held up very, very well over time. But again, this game is what 20.
Yeah, it's over 20 now.
Years old, 23 years old now at this point.
2001?
2001, 22? Okay, it's 22, 23 years old at this point. Yeah, so it's a good game. I really, really enjoyed it. Thank you, Buffa, for letting me borrow your physical copy of the game so I can actually play it in the original hardware and, you know, kind of bust out and enjoy playing on an Xbox controller again for the first time in a while.
Oh, did you play on the Duke or did you?
No, I played on the original. Yeah, you can see back there. I have the blue controller over there.
That was the S, right? Or the
the Xbox. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The Xbox is a terrible naming convention. Because that's an Xbox. That's technically an Xbox S controller. Yeah. And it's like, don't do that to me.
You had to, for the real feel, you had to play it on the hamburger.
Okay, I'll pop the game in again. I'll find the hamburger. Hamburger. the Duke. Listeners, thank you guys for sticking with us here. And I know this episode was a little bit longer than I think expected. It's about pretty like average length for our episodes. Yeah, I had a decent amount to talk about here for this game. So thank you guys for tuning in. You leave us a like, comment, rating on any and whatever audio platform you guys are listening to us on. Again, we're on all the major streaming platforms. Share us with a friend. We'd really appreciate it. And we'll see you guys in the next episode. Take care.
Peace.
Jet Set Radio!
Did you know the meme Shiba Inu died?
I saw Cheebs. Or Cheems. Sorry, Cheems. Yeah, I was sad. My other chat, they sent the message. I'm like, no, Cheems! The good boy. No.